Hey everybody, today we are going to interview a person with over 9 years of experience in Java JTV, microservices, and Spring Boot. We are going to test him on his basics and as well cover some of the advanced concepts. So, with that being said, without further ado, let's get started. So, can you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in Java?
I can give 7.
7. And what are the main features that you're using currently and what version of Java you're using?
Java 8 currently we are working on Ashwin.
So, any particular features that you're using currently, or just the generic Java interfaces, etc. So, what are the things that you're comfortable on?
Yeah, in Java 8 actually we are using streams and functional interfaces and Lambda expressions. So these kind of stuff we are working on currently in
Oh,
our project. Yeah.
okay, okay. So, can you explain about on why we need to go for lambda expressions in Java 8 and what is the need for it?
So actually basically if you want to process the huge number of transactions, right? So that situation you want to go for the Lambda. So you want to reduce our code, boilerplate code you want to reduce, and actually in Lambda is nothing but anonymous function. Okay, you no need to write any function name and type of the argument, so you need to declare it directly, and through arrow symbol you can be able to write on functional programming. So that is the main advantage of Lambda expressions.
Okay, okay. So, you seem to have worked with lambda expressions. Have you used functional interfaces, method references, etc.?
Yeah, method reference we are using, yes, correct.
Okay, so can you also let us know on where exactly it is used and
Yeah, the
what?
reference is actually if there is any method. Okay, if you want to call like static methods is there, right? So you can call directly class name double colon and method name you can call directly. Okay, so no need to create instance, all those things stuff. So we are reducing our code.
Okay, so if you want to do a filter, okay, so say if you're having a list of elements, okay, or list of objects to be precise. So if you want to write a filter for it, so where exactly would you write it? So just could you elaborate on that?
Okay, so actually, so list of data we are getting from DB. Okay, whatever it is there, like REST call something. So after we
Mm-hmm.
are getting the data, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
want to do the filter on top of a particular condition. So we need
Mm-hmm.
to do the like stream you need to use. Okay, like
Mm-hmm.
list dot stream. Okay, on top of that, so all the records we are convert into the stream. Then we need to make it as a filter. Okay, filter function is there inside the filter. So whatever the data is coming, like for example you are taking as a employee class. Okay, employee class
Mm-hmm.
having some age something is there, amount is something is there. Okay, if you want
Mm-hmm.
to filter more than amount is greater than 5,000 something is there, so that situation like employee. Okay, each employee like filter condition inside each employee. Okay, so lambda you can use, and based on employee dot get salary is greater than 500 5,000 something. Okay, then you need to collect all the information that collect the to list. Then based on that filter condition, you will get the remaining all the list whatever we filter.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And so that's about it with functional programming. So, what are the major collections that you've used so far? And what kind of operations? Say you're saying that you use streams with respect to list. Okay. So if you're having a map, okay, and if you want to use a stream or a parallel stream, how would you go about? And can you also let me know on what is the difference between a stream and a parallel stream?
Okay, the stream actually if you want to particular data is there, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm,
if you are, for example 1,000 records are there. Okay, if I want
mm-hmm,
to read the data, okay, using the stream, for example it will take 2 minutes of time. Okay, so if you are
mm-hmm.
using parallel time, right, because there is once you are doing the read operations, okay, there is no issue on while reading the transaction. That's why we can go with parallel processing. If you are writing the data, right, so that situation you need to handle multi-threading. Okay, otherwise what happened, the same data maybe there is a chance we writing in or double two times more than one time like that will come.
Okay,
So
so
parallel
anything,
while,
sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you. So anything to do with the cores in your machine? Anything related to how many cores can be used or? So could you explain on those lines? So if it's a parallel stream, so if you want to use all of the cores in your machine, whether would you go with a stream or a parallel stream?
Yeah, if multiple cores already then I can go with the parallel stream, right?
Okay, okay. So how will you explain the difference? So I'm not understanding the difference of using a stream and a parallel stream.
Okay, for you, as you told, right? So there is a multiple cores are there. Okay, so stream,
Mm-hmm.
if you're working on a one core only, if you core it is accessing means it will take some time consuming, right? Okay, a
Mm-hmm.
parallel means it will work on a multiple cores. Okay, that's why more performance will come on
Okay. Say
reading
if
the
you're
code.
having 8 cores in your machine, so all of that can be used using a parallel stream, right?
Exactly. That's what.
Okay. 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 Shubhani, you want to jump in?
Yeah, Ashwin. Venkatesh, I have one question here. So, suppose you're using a parallel stream for reading a list, and now inside that, you have to write something to another list, and you're using parallel stream for this case. So, will there be any consideration while writing to the second list using parallel stream?
Yeah, actually, if you are trying to modify anything in between of the list, right? So you will get to concurrent modification exception, right?
Hmm. Okay. So what
Yeah,
can you
that is a
done?
problem.
What can you do in this case?
Yeah,
You
you
have
can
to
go
write.
for
Mhm.
yeah, if you want to go with the list, right? So you can use already by default concurrent modification exception already handled, right? So copy and write our list class is there. You can use that one, and based on that, you won't get to concurrent modification exception if that is your situation. If there is in map, then you can go with the concurrent hash map.
Okay. All right. All right. So I also want to cover multi-threading concepts. So what's the difference between callable and runnable interfaces? Hello.
Yeah. A runnable interface is there, right? That is an interface. So, okay, if you want to implement as a multi-threading, okay, if implement a runnable interface, there is a chance of extend another class also is there. Okay, that is a
Um,
runnable interface.
have you heard of callable future future class?
Yeah, callable I heard, but I haven't
Okay.
implemented.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So have you worked with a little bit of multi-threading? Like, how do you, what are the different ways of creating multiple threads?
Yeah, there are two ways are there. Right? You can extend the thread class or implement runnable interface. Okay. So if you extend the class, okay, in future, if you want to do any extend another class, then we can't able to do. So that's why better approach we can go with implement a runnable interface. Okay. If there is a chance of future, if you want to implement anything further, you can able to implement. So that is the advantage of implement runnable interface.
Okay. Any other like thread pool? Have you heard how to create?
Yeah. Thread pool. Yeah, I have knowledge on that one. So that executor class is there, right? So multiple thread actually, why we need to go for that executors and all, right? So for example, if you have multiple threads like 100 classes we need to create, okay? So that situation we can't able to like create each and every thread, right? So it will waste of the code. So because of that one, we are implementing as a executor class on that one. Then we can make it as all threads in the one pool. Okay, for example, 100 threads we want to do uh, memory related. If you want to get in feature in production, okay, if you want to try the more transaction processing, so those kind of issues you can eliminate if you create as a thread pool mechanism executor.
Okay. All right. So suppose like you are using executor service and you want to do a task after all the tasks are finished. So what will be your approach?
Shubhani, we lost you in the middle.
So a question is like you are using executor service, okay? So in executor service, like there will be multiple threads doing some task. So now you want to do something after all the tasks are completed.
Okay.
So how will you do this? Like you there is a task in the main thread that you want to do only after all the threads that you have created using executor service are finished.
Not
Okay,
no
okay, okay,
miss.
fine. Okay, we can move on
Yeah.
to some different topic. If you have not
Okay.
much worked on multi-threading, that's okay. Can we? Do you have any other questions on core Java, particularly Ashwin, or we can move to Spring and then maybe come back again?
Yeah, maybe like so, Venkat.
Yeah.
With respect to the projects that you worked on, so what features of since we are going to go into Spring Boot or the Spring framework for your information, so what kind of features have you used and what are you comfortable on? Say like, have you worked with microservices?
Yes, Ashwin, we have worked on microservices. Yes.
Okay, so for a start, can you please explain us about what is the need for a microservice and why exactly it is needed and the difference with respect to a monolith?
Okay. See, the monolithic application actually, so all the business logic is put it into one place. Okay. And if you want to do any modification inside the code, okay, in single piece also. So you want to entire application, you want to scale up and scale down. Okay. So this is one of the disadvantage. Along with that, so entire all the classes and packaging, everything is in single component, right? So it will memory point of view, it will consuming you huge. Okay, the performance will become slow. Okay, this is the problems in one more thing actually. So if you want to implement any other language, you can't able to implement in monolithic application. Okay, so likewise, if you're coming to the microservice, right? Whatever I told, along a point because actually, so that whatever monolithic application we segregate into individual components. Okay, that is nothing but a microservices. Okay, each service. So the services which we have implemented, you can able to different teams you can able to do. Okay, and different languages also you can able to implement. And if you want
Okay.
to do any other application changes, okay, that particular application will get impact. Like you can able to do it as a circuit breaker design pattern you can implement. And for example, if you want to do, I have 10 microservices. Okay, so there is an issue with one microservices. Okay, if you make it as a circuit breaker design pattern mechanism, you can write fallback method on historics command. Then that particular service by default it won't to run in business logic inside the account. Okay.
So you worked with Hystrix, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So before we go into those details, so because like we just touched microservices, so what are the things that you've used in your project? Say, can you explain about design of a microservice in your project so that we can go with respect to that? Uh,
Okay. So actually we have around 20 services are there. Okay. So few components we are running in on-prem, and few components we are running in AWS. Okay. So actually whatever the request is coming from the client, right? So based on the request type, okay. So it will come into the first API gateway. Okay. Inside the API gateway, we already configured like Eureka services. Okay, based on the URL, whatever coming the request, then we are segregated into particular service.
okay, okay. So can you please explain a bit more? So, like, what features you use now? Say, like, what is the Eureka service, or how will you define what is Eureka and what is the need for it, and also about an API gateway. So, have you used API gateway in your project?
Yeah, API gateway Joule we have implemented, right?
Okay, and also have you used security or have you handled security? So, these three things in a flow would be great.
Yeah. So actually, in Eureka server is nothing but so where the all the client URLs are there, right? So whenever you run the, for example, I have told, right, 20 services I have. So all the services we have registered into one place. Okay, that is Eureka server. Okay. So and actually by default port they are assigning and forwarded our request into particular services. Okay. In future, if you want to do any of port numbers, all those things, right? So you no need to worry about inside our code, no need to change. It will taken care by our Eureka server. So that
Okay.
is nothing but Eureka client.
So you're defining all your services there. So
Yes, yes.
one quick question here. So how do you communicate between the services within your application?
So services between to our application.
Say if you want to call, say if you have two services in your application that say are registered in your Eureka server, and if you want to call service B from service A, how would you go about doing that?
Okay, that Fin client is there, right? So we can use Fin client through that microservice communication will happen. I have one
Oh,
yeah is there that is the REST template through also we are calling.
great. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Please proceed. About API gateway. So now I had asked about API gateway.
Okay, the API gateway is nothing but tool, right? So whenever client request is coming from outside of the client or outside of the request, so based on that request type, okay. For example, 20 services are there, okay. If you are giving as a type of parameter A, then API gateway will assume that and redirect to our Eureka server, and based on that request, we will sending to particular service and a
Oh,
load balancer.
okay. Okay. So now coming to a little bit of code configurations. So how will you enable an Eureka server, or how will you make sure that a particular service is going to handle that?
Yeah, actually we have in Spring Boot annotation is there, enable Eureka server. So like that, if annotation you can give and you can register with Eureka server. Okay. And one more thing, if you want to client is there, right? So we have around 20 services. So we want to register with Eureka server. So at the rate of enable Eureka client. Okay. If you use that annotation, along with that, Eureka server related configuration, you need to map in our application.yml or application.properties, you need to make it that. Then after
Okay.
whatever you have given in our client, right? So it will register into Eureka servers.
Okay. Okay. So Shubhani, you want to jump in? I'm pretty much.
So you have used Spring Boot, right? What all
Yes.
annotations have you used?
Yeah, Spring Boot actually mostly we are using stereotype annotations like configuration, okay, component and service, and we are actually in our application we are using JP repository. So repository, okay. So this kind of is there, and at the rate of REST controller, and after we are passing the request, right? So at the rate of request body, okay, and we need to annotate
Hmm.
and a request param and a path variable. Okay, if you want to send in a URL, right, some data, so you can use a path variable, okay. And for example, we have one interface, okay. So multiple classes URL implemented. So that situation you can use a qualifier, okay?
Hmm.
And yeah, primary annotation is there, and bean is there,
Okay. All
okay.
right. Any caching annotations you have used?
In caching, some enable caching like that is there, but I am not much in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is transient? At the rate transient you have used with respect
Trans-
to.
Hibernate.
Hmm.
Transient is actually
Okay. Okay. Uh, so what are the different bean scopes?
So if you want to ignore
by default
any variables, you can
singleton
use
scope is there.
transient.
Okay, you need
So
to
that's the
handle.
answer
So
for
each
it.
and every request
So in
already
JPA, you can
existing
ignore variables.
default scope singleton will create that instance will be what. Okay.
Okay. So what is the concept of singleton?
Singleton actually, so one instance it will already created and make it into caching. Okay. So whenever we make the request, right, so that same instance will return again.
Okay. And any other beanstalk? If we want to define, if we don't want a single instance, you want separate instances for every
Yeah, prototype
call.
you can use.
Okay. Okay.
So each and every request it will create a new bean and it will assign per request.
For communication between two services, you have used only REST APIs, or like have you worked with the messaging kind of structure also anywhere at any
Yeah,
point?
Kafka actually in our application they implemented Kafka also is there.
Okay, okay, great. All
That
right.
like
Some
message. Yeah.
basics of Kafka are you familiar with, or like how much will you rate yourself in Kafka?
I can give 2 out of 5 because
Okay.
yeah, much I ignored on that, but I know
All
how
right.
it's working on our application because a few
Okay.
issues are coming, right? So that situation we need to handle, fix some issues. So those kind of things I
Okay.
work on.
Okay. Okay. Any basics you know about Kafka? What are the basics in that Kafka setup? Like, what are the basic
Yeah, yeah,
keywords,
yeah.
concepts?
Yeah, consumer and producer is there, right?
Mm.
So yeah, producer will send data to broker server. Okay, inside the broker server a couple of topics will be there, and each topic will have multiple partitions will be there. Okay, so like nothing but is a data processing of the data stream. Okay, then after that it will send it to producer will send to server, and server will based on that one consumer will consume that requests. Okay, so there is an id will be there, offset id will be there. So each index it will have a one id uniquely it will generate.
Okay. So, like, what is the basic use of Kafka over other messaging queues? Like, so do you know about that?
Yeah, actually earlier I was working with mq. Okay,
Okay.
so mq and while we are producing the data to queue, from queue it will forward to from queue consumer will get the data. Okay, so but actually then some issues will be there on messaging queue. Maybe that is to overcome, it will come into the Kafka.
Okay. So it was replaced, like basically for the same work, you had replaced MQ with Kafka
Yes, yes, yes.
in your project.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. But any specific reason you're not aware of much? Why did you replace?
that's why that some partitions and all there, right? So unique,
Hmm.
and yeah, so these kind of thing is not there in mq.
Okay. Okay. All right. You know about consumer groups concept?
Yeah, consumer group, yes, yes.
What is it?
That multiple consumers we are put into that group, that is the consumer group. Okay, so based on that consumer group, consumer will get the data, okay, from topics.
Okay. So like if two consumers are there belonging to the same group, and so one message is there, okay, in the Kafka, one message is there. So both the consumers will get the same message.
No, 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 they're not, can't get. Once the data writing in the question we can't change, but while reading, right, while consuming, right, so based on the offset id is there, right, so that is uniquely, right. So once so that is reading data and it won't allow to others, other consumer.
And if the consumers are there in separate consumer groups, so suppose, okay, I have a message now. I have two consumers with two different consumer groups.
Okay,
So they both will get the same message, or either of them will get the same message.
sorry, come again.
So I have a message in Kafka,
Okay,
and I have two consumers running, reading from the same topic. Okay, they belong to different consumer groups. These two consumers belong to different consumer groups. So will both of them get the same message?
Both not getting the same messages. If you are getting the same message, then it will become a problem, right?
So what is the need for using a consumer group? So why do you need to have separate consumer groups? That's the question.
That consumer group is actually reading data from the topic, right? So the topic having a couple of partitions are there. You can't have more consumers than partition.
Okay, all right. Uh,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
So in database side, you have worked with Oracle, or which databases have you used?
No, actually now we are working with DynamoDB.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Earlier I was working with Oracle.
Okay, all right. All right. So what is the concept of sharding?
Sharding is nothing but actually in storing the data into multiple machines.
Okay.
Like in starting actually in scaling is there, right? Horizontal scaling and vertical scaling concept is there. Okay. Yeah, horizontal scaling in the sense I told, right? So multiple machines we are storing into the data, but vertical scaling in the sense in already existing machine. Okay, you want to increase the memory, like RAM size you want to. So instead of that, actually this is the better approach in some MongoDB or Dynamo. So that's what it coming into picture sharding.
So
So
do
how do you shard the data? Like on the basis of what? I mean, so how do you shard it actually? Like, so shard key. What is a shard key?
Shard, some key value pair will be there.
So have you done sharding yourself, or you've just used MongoDB as a collection from your application?
No, actually, I know
DynamoDB.
DynamoDB I am working on that one. Okay, but in
Okay.
DynamoDB, yeah. So there is an entire data will be there, and items and attributes are there. Okay,
Okay. Okay. So sorry to interrupt.
based on
So we are using MongoDB. So any chance of using MongoDB in your application, or you've not used it at all?
I haven't used it actually. I have knowledge on that. That's why I'm
Okay.
telling.
Okay. So you said
Yeah.
that you've
But we are
used.
working on DynamoDB.
Okay. Okay. So you've
Sorry, Ashwin.
used yeah. So you've used both NoSQL and RDBMS, right?
Yes. Earlier they were working with RDBase.
Okay, so what difference did you find between the two? So, what is the need for going into a NoSQL database like DynamoDB, or why would you prefer to stay with an RDBMS like Oracle? So, any design perspective?
Yeah. Either, but actually this is no SQL data structure in like DynamoDB and or MongoDB. Okay, so based on our data, right? So it is scaling our data. Okay, so no need to worry about that size constraint and all those things. In Oracle, you want to do all those things, right? So here you no need to worry. And along with actually, if you want to directly insert into the database like a JSON format in MongoDB, so that is the advantage. But you can't able to do in uh, RDBMS, right? So you want to do some data modifications, all those things, then you can able to do insert. Then again, you want to read the data and put into the JSON for this kind of problems if there in RDBMS.
Okay, okay. So, Shubhani, any more questions on MongoDB?
One actually, like some time is left, so I just want to do one programming question. Ashwin, is it fine? Or-
Sure, Shubhani. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you can take a rough paper with you. So question is like you have an array of only zeros and ones.
Okay.
Now you want to segregate zeros and ones, keep all the zeros on the left hand side and all the ones on the right hand side.
Okay.
So tell me your approach first and some code snippet if, afterwards.
So having zeros.
Zeros and ones. So there is an array of integers or a list of whatever of integers. So you have to segregate all the zeros and ones in that array.
Okay.
So
Actually,
the arrays would be a mixture. So if you could write it
Yeah,
out
yeah.
in the chat, it would be easy for them to understand,
yeah.
right?
So I will
Yes, yes,
approach
yes.
that. Yeah. 1 minute. My approach is that actually, if you are array, right? So I understand. So that array I will convert into the list. Okay. Arrays, that is something I will convert. Then integer, right? So after that, what I will do, based on that list, right? Okay. I will make it as a stream and collect by using collect method, and grouping I will use. Then you will get zeros and ones, right? Different way.
Okay. So, like I was, like I'm expecting some basic like for loop if you can use and like optimize basically. So in terms of data structure, uh, so suppose you have an array. Okay, now you this is an array of only zeros and ones. So in minimum time, like how can you segregate, make all the zeros on the left and all the ones in the right?
Okay, you are expecting about in Java's perspective, or
On data structures perspective.
So you can think on algorithm lines. Just a clue.
Hmm.
so and zeros and ones you are asking, right? Then you,
Yeah, yeah. So suppose this is array 0 1 0 1 1 0 0 0. Okay.
okay,
Now output should be like all the zeros are suppose 0 0 0 0 0, and then in the end 1 1 1. The output is like this. So how will you do left shift, right shift, or what another approach you can think of?
zeros. No, Shubham, I'm not able to collect.
Okay, 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 okay. All right. Okay, yeah. Ashwin, I'm done from my end.
So I'm done as well. So Venkat, any more questions you have for us?
Yeah, currently actually what is the project, and what are the technologies, and what is the domain? Can you please?
Yeah. So we are predominantly using Java, Kafka, as well as MongoDB. So with respect to the cloud infrastructure, we are using Pivotal Cloud Foundry. So we've not yet gone into AWS. So we are trying to go into those lines as well. But we are basically looking out for people who are good with Java and some design skills, along with on how to work with NoSQL databases. And knowledge of Spark would be an added advantage. So do
Yeah,
you have an idea
actually,
of Spark? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Ashwin, yeah, we are working on Spark actually. That the larger transaction I told, right? We are passing through EMR cluster using Spark data only. Yeah, I have.
EM, EMR is Elastic Map Reduce in AWS, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. 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 So that's about it. So we are predominantly using this architecture. So we have a couple of microservices as well, and we have some batch applications. We are also trying to implement Spark streaming, so as an architecture. So we are trying to. It's basically a data store where we do the storage and do some analysis based on that, and feed it to our consumers. So knowledge of Kafka is predominantly needed. Um, so that's about it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Ashwin.